Hello, hello. I think we're live. We are. It's here. Money Monday, or not Money Mondays. Money Moves. It's on a Tuesday.
I feel like we should move to Monday because you
I
always.
always do. I almost do. It's like it just kind of flows better. So I don't know. Maybe that'll happen in the future. But here we are for another edition of Money Moves with Wendy Lee and John C. here. So, guys, we're talking about how to actually increase your net worth, your financial portfolio, if you will. And we're talking about a couple different aspects. Number one, we're trying to teach you how to save more money. You hear that excuse, so I don't make enough money, I don't have enough money, no money's left over. So we talk about ways to actually save more money, obviously grow more money and make more money. And then how can I keep more of my money, from market loss, taxes, things like that. So today we're talking about something a little bit differently. It's about giving money. And how do you give money away, kind of the benefits of that and things like that. So I don't know about you, Wendy, I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about this topic. So,
and so to give though, can't that help with the keep because the government doesn't get as
we're
much?
going to talk about that. That's a great little concept there. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So, one of the things I've heard in the past, and we were actually talking about it before we got started, was money being the root of all evil. And you hear that different groups, money's going to make you a bad person or whatever, or especially if you come from
money's greedy.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially if you come from that mindset of not having it growing up. I know, my family, we struggled, right, coming up, and it was one of those that, those guys are crooks. If they're rich, they're got to be crooks. That's how they're rich. Cheating the system, and you always hear every election about who's not paying taxes and things like that. And it's kind of that mindset of middle America or whatever, not across the board, but in general terms. That money's bad. Money's a bad thing. I mean, what do you think about that, Wendy?
Yeah, I mean, I have been there, right? And it's hard when, like, for me, I grew up in the church, and like you read the Bible and it talks about like it's harder for a rich man to get to heaven than a camel to go through the eye of the needle. But if you keep reading and put it in context, it really has nothing to do with money. It has to do with the posture of your heart.
Yes.
So we like to take those little pieces of scripture and pull them out of context and make them mean something they don't. And just like money is the root of all evil, we're missing a word in there.
Yeah, love
of money is the root of all evil.
Love of money. Yeah, it's in 1 Timothy 6:10, I think. It's the love of money.
Yeah.
So if you're pursuing money just to be pursuing money, that's that whole false idol thing and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the concepts that a lot of people struggle with. And they don't even really understand it because it's so ingrained in their subconscious, in their psyche, right? That you're kind of pushing that money away in your mind of, I don't want to go out and make a lot of money, or because I don't want to I'll just be content. That's another thing. And you made a comment about we take it out of context, and I don't know that we necessarily take it out of context as outside forces take it out of context, and because we don't spend time in the word or whatever. And I'm just as guilty. I'm not trying to pass judgment by any means, but it's one of those that you got to know this stuff because it's that love of money. And money is a tool. You look at it, it's a piece of paper. It's printed with some various color inks on what's called 40-pound rag. That's the weight of the paper, and that's the type of paper it's printed on. How I know that? My dad spent years in the printing industry, and he told me that, so it stuck. But it's a tool, just like you have a shovel in your garage or whatever, and it's a magnifying glass. It's going to make you either more of an awesome person, more of a generous person, or more of a bad, greedy person if you're pursuing money just for the sake of pursuing money and self-fulfillment. Yeah. So that was a lot. I feel like I'm on a podium here, or kind of preaching on a Sunday. But I agree 100% that one of those things that people look at it with the wrong set of lenses. So.
It's funny because I heard, so shout out to one of my mentors, Ray Higdon. He said something once that really switched my mindset. So I as an entrepreneur struggled with, and we're going to get to the giving piece, but I struggled with like wanting to earn a certain amount because I thought, well, if I want to earn that much, am I greedy? And he said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like he says, if you're saying I only want to make $10,000 a month, I only want to make whatever a month, he goes, how selfish are you? Mm-hmm. That's what you need. Yeah. But what about what can be done if you make way more than that and who you can serve?
Yep.
And I was like, oh, like it just was this light bulb moment for me to go, I'm being selfish, not wanting to earn more because I know I'm capable of it. And not everyone is.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You've got to look at your given talents, right? Your God-given talents on what you were enabled to do, even though you may not. And most people aren't. Most people aren't leveraging them, right, and using them. But it's to create that. And I always refer back to the parable of the talents, right? Again, another Bible story I learned as a child, talking about 3 people that were entrusted with certain amounts. One went out and was scared to lose it, so they did what? They buried it in the sand. The second one went out and did a little bit with it and made a little bit of money. And the third one went out and made some, significant money. And then they came back, later and reported on what they had accomplished.
Right.
And it's one of those, if you've been entrusted with a little, you'll be entrusted with a lot. And that's kind of the parable of the story, or the essence of the story, is to really, you look at what you've been entrusted with and try to figure out, why aren't I getting ahead financially?
Right.
And maybe that's part of the challenge is, okay, well, you've been given a little bit and haven't done much with it. What makes you think that if you've been given a lot, and you can call it God, you can call it the universe, or whatever, faith you follow, the secret, whatever. And I believe in a lot of that, as far as, if you put it out there, it's going to come back to you. Same thing with giving. If you put it out there, it's going to come on, back to you on tenfold, right? And there's a lot of other things when it comes to giving, but why you picked this topic. So I want to hear from you, kind of what's in your heart about why you picked this topic for today.
Yeah. Because I think giving is one of those like weird, there's these laws, like you said, I say of God, regardless of they're true, right? It doesn't matter what religion, people realize they're true because God made them that way. You reap what you sow. Right. And so I think that it's like I have gone from one extreme to another. And that's why I think it's an important topic to talk about, because I think everyone at some point is dealing with it on one side or the other. And it's important. It's an important discussion. I used to be so broke and want to give everything away. Right? Like I had nothing and I wanted to give everything. I'm like in the Bible, when the girl had a penny and that's what she gave, right? Like she gave less than everybody else, but it was all she had. And I think that's a powerful story. I don't think that just means empty your bank account. I think that, again, it's about the posture of your heart, right? Giving everything to God. So, but then I've been on the other side where it's like, because I had no money for a long time, when I made it, I was like almost afraid to give it. Because I'm like, I need to save. I don't want to run out, right? I like went from the pendulum swing, kind of one end to the other. And now honestly, it was going through Financial Peace University at my church that when Dave Ramsey said something, like it really helped me pull together in my heart, like where to be, where to land. And it's like, on the regular, for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to tithe because for me, that's a biblical truth something that I'm supposed to do. And so I tithe, but the giving above and beyond, like I used to want to give everything away. And it was like, Dave Ramsey said, if you can't take care of your own family first, you're actually robbing from your family by giving. And I used to actually make it so we couldn't buy groceries to give, And so, and then he says, right, that if you live like no one else, you can give like no one else. So I'm in this place now, and I think it's a healthy place to be, that I give my 10%. If I feel like a call to give more, I will, but it has to be a strong call, and I have to be provided for, and my family has to be provided for. And I am wanting to work like crazy, and I'm wanting to build a substantial income. My husband and I have a goal of one day being able to give away $1 million a year. Like that's our goal. It's not like how much do I want to make? It's how much do I want to be able to give and it not, hurt our family. Yeah. And so anyway, that's kind of where I've just been on that road, back and forth.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Spot, I think.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about is in regards to money being used as a tool. I mean, I want everybody listening to this, whether you're live with us now or catching it on a playback, but you look at what would it be like to not have to worry about money again? Okay, what would it be like to be able to you had a family member in need, or if you had a, you know, whether it's your church or your cause or whatever, that you wanted to be able to contribute to and not feel that financial pain of, okay, now I've got to do without or whatever. And not that, you know, hey, okay, sacrifice. I'm not saying you don't sacrifice for your cause or whatever, but to be able to generously and consistently contribute to those causes. And that's where, you know, looking to create those side streams of income or making that money and being able to give, it has a lot of reward other than just, okay, well, I gave somebody. Number one, you're helping people out, right? You're helping people out. And I'm all about, you know, I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers or trigger some people on this. I'm all about giving a hand up, not necessarily a handout. Yep. Right. You know, it goes back to that teach a man to fish rather than give them the fish kind of concept. And don't get me wrong, there are times where it's like, hey, here, just, you know, take this and go or whatever. But if you're looking at making some significant contributions, I want it to be able to empower people, not just fix a problem today and then the problem's back tomorrow. And we see that a lot with different groups and things like that. So you always want to kind of check that. But, you know, what's another thing that being able to give would do for somebody? I mean, obviously that makes you feel pretty dang good, right? So you got that personal reward when you help others. But what else? What else do you think?
Well, I think the more that you give, it multiplies back to you, right? Mm-hmm. It says, you know, again, the word of God, sorry, we're talking a lot about Jesus today. You know, it says, you know, pressed down, shaken together and running over. Like when we give, when we have that posture, and it's not just your money, right? It's your time, it's your attention, it's your love, it's all these things, right? But when we give, it's given back to us in such a huge measure. And, you know, back to like the handouts and different things like that. Like if you're capable of making money, if you've been gifted talents and skills, right, that not everyone has. And like I see sometimes even people of faith, they sit back and be like, oh, well, I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to lean into this and ask people to pay me because I don't want to be greedy. I should just give. But how much more powerful can you be for your cause and for giving if you lean in, and you that are capable will create wealth that then, right? Like I said at one point in my life, like I want to be the one that's able to give rather than always having to receive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and because someone has to do the giving.
Yep.
And I think more of us that are afraid of being greedy need to get over that and decide that we're going to earn enough so we can give abundantly.
Yeah.
Because we're able. Right.
Well, and that's, you know, I agree 100%. I mean, it's one of those, you got to look at the relationship. And I don't know the other religious texts out there, but you know, again, I'm a Christian. I know what the Bible says about it, but I look at that as a relationship between a son and a father. Okay. And you look at, I know my dad wants me to succeed. I know your dad wants you to succeed, right? It's one of those that you've got to look at it from that perspective of, yeah, of course you want to see your children doing better than you did and succeeding in life or whatever the case may be. And that's kind of the same relationship with money. It's just, are you focused on the wrong things with that? You know, as far as, you know, pursuing it, just pursue it for greed, for personal gain, things like that, as opposed to, yeah, I want to make money so I can in turn turn around and, you know, share that blessing with other people. And you look at, I started out my career in financial services with a group called Crown Financial Ministries as a volunteer. And this is back in 1999, 2000. And it talked a lot about, you know, went through kind of what all the verses were in the Bible. And it talks more in the Bible about money than it does love, which is like, you know, that kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
Because it has such an impact. And I've seen groups out there. I remember an interaction I had on LinkedIn a couple of years ago. People were complaining about X, Y, or Z, you know, not being paid enough or whatever the case. That's a whole different topic. But one lady said, okay, well, the meek shall inherit the earth. And she put it in. I'm like, no, that's not a justification for being okay with being broke. You know, it's one of those that, you know, pull up your straps, you know, and bootstraps and let's go do this.
Read Proverbs.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's like, go out and do stuff, but not to just amass it. You mentioned that earlier about, you know, hey, you get to a point, especially if you've been poor, where it's like, okay, I want to keep that safety net. And that's starting to get into that love of money. I'm not having faith in, you know, higher power. I'm having faith in, my ability to stack a bunch of cash, and you can't have that. So it's got to, you've got to kind of find that happy balance, that happy medium, and it's different for everybody. But going out and giving to those charities and causes, and that's one of the things that not only is it rewarding personally, but another factor in that is it's a motivation to those in your circle of influence, your friends, your family, and if you have children, they see you doing that because they're watching you more than they're actually listening to you. At least with my kids, I don't know if you found that to be true or not, but
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so one practical tip, I set up an account for giving. So I actually, when I pay myself, I transfer a percentage to my giving account. And it's cool because most of the time I just give it to the church. But a couple weeks ago, I had a friend who was doing an adoption fundraiser. And it was a really great feeling to feel the urge to give and have an account to pull it from. And so I felt the urge to give, and a number popped in my head, and I pulled it from that account. And so and we actually were blessed that way a couple of years ago when we brought our kids home through adoption. I had switched careers or switched businesses. So I walked away from a 6-figure residual income, started over. We adopted 3 kids. They came home, and all of a sudden, I thought I'd grow this second income really fast, and I didn't as fast as I thought I would. And we came up on Christmas, and I'm like, I don't know how we're buying our kids Christmas. I'm barely paying the bills at this point. And there was a friend of ours who messaged me, and she said, "Hey, my boyfriend brought up your name because he saw you have 7 kids, and he has $700 in his giving account for the end of the year, and he hasn't had the urge to give it to anyone. And then he saw you have 7 kids now, and he's like, oh, maybe the 700 is for her 7 kids." And so he gave us $700 to help with Christmas that year. Had no idea we were in a situation where we needed it or anything like that. And it's crazy. And that gave me though the idea. I'm like, oh, having an account that you just have there. And so then when you feel that, you're not having that internal battle of, am I stealing from my family, from providing for my family to be able to do this? Yeah.
Well, and that actually ties into one of the other examples is by giving, especially on a consistent basis like that, or setting up an account like you're talking about doing, it helps you become a better money manager on your own personal affairs.
Yeah.
Okay, because you've got certain money set aside, and that's that whole budgeting process we've talked about, being intentional about your money. Okay, I know I want to set aside this amount to give, whether it's to your church or tithe or charity or whatever the case may be. I've got this account that I'm using to kind of spread the wealth, right? To kind of to show some love to people, and whatever that group is for you, that's really going to help you become a better money manager too. So that's one of the other side benefits of it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just was agreeing.
Oh,
yeah.
So and that's a big part of it. And going back to talking about what else it can help you with. Number one, like I said, it's gonna help you feel better about what you got going on, and knowing that, okay, I'm not in this just for me. It's helping others in need, things like that. It helps bring that that more meaning to life, right? Whether it's on a small scale or a large scale, and don't feel like, okay, well, hey, that's great, John. You guys are making all this money that you can afford to give this out of your way. I've been to the point where, my wife and I at one point in our lives got down to our last $1,000 there. I've shared it. I've been down that journey before. And this was back in my corporate days when we were like, oh my gosh. And we had resources we could pull into it. I'm talking about just cash in the bank. And it's kind of scary. It's a little nerve wracking. So what can you do? Well, you figure it out, and then you get to a point where a lot of the things I teach, and that's why I teach this, to help others avoid that. But charity's got to be a part of that. Because there are others out there that are are not in the situation you're in right now, where they can have that blessing or have Christmas for their kids. I mean, as a kid reflecting on Christmas, and I know we didn't have money, but I know my mom, my dad, they always had a in my opinion, a great Christmas, because I got a gift, and the tree was decorated and stuff like that. And it was a special event. But that helps your, I don't want to call it lifestyle, but your appreciation for life. and your role in it. I mean, you look at the news and stuff like that and what's going on. It's just a lot of I got to the point where I don't even hardly watch the news anymore. It's just a lot of negativity and just, us versus them and them versus us and we versus we. And it's just anymore. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. We're all trying to do this together.
Yeah.
We all go through chapters. Everybody's just trying to get by and figure out that's the whole point of the show, is to help people. And giving is just another part. If you don't have the assets, fine. Give some of your time. You can carve out a couple hours a week to go volunteer at your local, food bank or your church, or, tell you what, there are a lot of people, and my daughter used to do this in assisted living, that they don't ever get visits from their family because they're either out of town, out of state, or whatever the case may be. And they appreciate just people spending time coming in and talking to them for a couple hours, just, hanging out. So that costs absolutely nothing. Okay. So, what are some other ways you think people could donate, of themselves or time or groups, or what are some other ways people can get involved and make a difference?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think volunteering your time, I took my kids, all my kids have been to serve at the rescue mission in Nashville and serve breakfast. And just even for them to see, let me back up for a second. Well, yeah, for them to see people less fortunate also helps them have more gratitude for where they are. And, one big thing, right? Like, we adopted kids from a third world country that were orphans, right? Mm-hmm. So they came to America and they see, oh my gosh. It's funny though, how quickly the mind can shift, because, my son Malachi went from like literally owning one pair of flip-flops that was falling apart and a pair of dress shoes for church at the orphanage to coming home, and all he wanted was more and more shoes. I want shoes, I want shoes, I want shoes. And then I remember one point him getting really upset with me because I told him no for these new shoes. I said, Malachi, do you realize that you used to have nothing, right? Like, you used to not have any of this. And like, now you have in abundance. We don't need more, right? And that's where like it gets to the greedy. But and so one thing I want to teach my kids, and I am teaching my kids, is to give, right? So like, when we start to have in abundance, give your stuff, right? So like, okay, Sloan has plenty of toys. So I told her the other day, I said, hey, let's pack up a bag of toys that we can give to other kids that don't have some. Yeah. And she put together a bag of Barbies that she goes, oh, I don't need this one, right? So I think that, and then I also think, practicing gratitude to keep our heart in check.
Yeah.
All the time for where we are. So.
And that's a powerful statement right there. And for those of you that, maybe missed that or don't see the importance of that attitude of gratitude, it is hard to be sad or to be upset about life or where you're at in life if you focus up first thing in the morning and you focus on what you're grateful for. Right. And jump out of bed and just immediately while you're, brushing your teeth or whatever, say, well, I guess you don't got to say it when you're brushing your teeth, but think it, 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for today. I'm grateful for my kids, having a roof over my head. And that's one of the things that, if you get a chance to go to third world countries, exactly, get it third world countries, or, donate your time and experience that, or do a mission trip or something like that, you really see, how blessed we are in this country and most developed countries compared to a lot of others. Talk to your son. And that goes back to my statement earlier too. If you didn't have it growing up or whatever, all of a sudden that's what you lock onto. So his was shoes. For a lot of people, it's just money in general because it's a tool to buy the shoes or whatever the case may be. And you've got to be cautious of that, because you can get wrapped up in that and miss out on the whole purpose of this journey we call life, and or that financial journey too. That's part of it, is to build that into. Obviously, like you said, you want to take care of your family. You want to make sure that that's happening. But you want to, continue to receive those blessings in regards to being able to generate more of an income for you and your family. But don't focus on just keeping it all. Turn around, pay it forward, and share that wealth with other folks out there, or causes, or whatever the case may be. And I'm not getting into what's the right cause or the wrong cause or whatever. That's your decision. And that's something that you've got to, think about it, pray about it, whatever you do, and then make that choice. But that needs to be a part of your financial dynamic, right? Is that giving.
Yeah. And, I think making a practice of it, like if it's not, a lot of Christians do practice tithing and they do that regularly. But I think even we used to be a part of a group that did Wealth Wednesdays, And so they would give us creative ways to like give money, like either, you know, in the Starbucks line, paying for the person behind you, which people go, oh, if they're in Starbucks, they can afford it. It's not about, again, it's not about that. It's about your heart. It's about the posture. But like, I love, one of my favorite things to do that I've done several times is like take a 20 or a 50, or if you have 10 or 5, roll it up and put it in diaper boxes at like Walmart. And so,
Cool.
right, like people that are buying diapers or formula for their kids and opening that up and seeing some cash in there. I think that's fun.
Oh,
but
that is cool. Yeah, I never thought about
doing
that.
it without recognition.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of the neat thing about it. Again, just that personal reward, and not that you're doing it just to get to personal self gratification. It's almost one of the side products of it is the fact that, hey, I know I'm making somebody's day. I mean, you know, I remember back in the day when we had our kids and we were talking about formula, you know, at $25 or $30 a can, going, oh my gosh, man, you know, that's so expensive. And now I don't even know what it is. You know, our kids are all grown and in high school and college now, but it's one of those things that you're just a little bit. I mean, just like that whole buying a cup of coffee for the person in front of you or whatever, or behind you or whatever the case may be. I guess you wouldn't buy them in front, but you know, that little bit puts a smile on somebody's face. And if we all had the opportunity to do that, and you can do it with a lot or a little or whatever the case is, you imagine what the world would be like. If we made our mission of each day to make one person smile, what our world would be like. I mean, it would be, you know, a great place. I think the Beatles wrote a song about it. So, you know, you look at that. And obviously the final thing, and I'm going to tie it back to money moves, right, is a lot of, if you're donating to a 501 or whatever, you know, an actual charity, you get huge tax benefits for it. And so that's something too, to offset income, just like you're putting money in a 401k or whatever, you know, that's deferred income. You don't claim taxes on that. Well, you can actually offset some of your income by donating to charity. Make sure you get a receipt, make sure you're reported on your taxes, talk to your tax advisor. They will walk you through that process. But, you know, again, it's all about how do I keep more of my money. So and that's very impactful, especially if that donation moves you down into a lower bracket, you know, a tax bracket or something like that. So that's something you definitely want to, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's on the number stuff. But, you know, overall, just as a closing, I know this was a little softer money moves, but it's an important one. Because it needs to be a part of your overall. It's not about just making money. Okay, it's about becoming financially independent and helping others on their financial journey as well. Okay, and like I said, my whole philosophy is all about, you know, show a person how to fish, not just give them the fish, hand up versus hand out. But sometimes handouts are justified as well. But again, you want to help the long-term strategy. Go out, make it your mission to help somebody smile today. Show them a little about what we do in Money Moves and how they can apply it to their lives, and share this, you know, this show with them. You know, follow us on social media. You're going to learn about this stuff, and this is stuff that you can apply and make it, you know, a financial impact in your own lives as well as others. So, Wendy, any closing statements?
No, that wraps it up.
Yeah. So that was a good show. Again, do us a favor, follow us on social media at Black Swan Money, at Wendy Lee Online. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up on this video if you like it, if you got something out of it. If you didn't like it, you know, don't thumbs down, but just, you know, hey, we're not here for everybody, but we are here. Catch us on the next show. I'm sure you'll get something out of it. But again, thanks everybody for coming out, and we'll see you next Tuesday, not Monday, next Tuesday for Money Moves at 10 a.m. Central, and everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.